everyone, in this video I will discuss a listening audio entitled Talking About Rumors. The conversation is between Will and Kiara. They talk about rumors and experience related to a manager named John. Let's begin. First, listen the audio.
This recording is from the British Council.
Kira, have you heard John isn't coming back and they might even fire him?
No, I knew he was away, but I thought it was for personal reasons.
At the beginning of the conversation, Will tells Kiara that John may not return to work and might even be fired. Kiara is surprised because she thought John was away for personal reasons. This introduces the main topic of the conversation, which is a rumor about John's situation at work. Next, listen the audio again.
I'm pretty sure that's not the full story. Have you ever worked with him?
A long time ago, but, well, I've heard stories about him for years.
Okay, in this part, Will asks whether Kiara has ever worked with John. Kiara says she worked with him a long time ago and has heard many stories about him over the years. This suggests that John's reputation may have been problematic for a long time. Next, listen audio again.
I've never worked with him directly, but I know people that have, and they say he was always shouting and screaming, threatening to fire people. And Suzanne told me he took credit for one of her ideas. She had this idea for a project and she brought it up at the monthly creative workshop and he liked it, everybody did. But she saw the notes from the meeting and there was no mention of her name anywhere. John had agreed with her and repeated some of the things she said, and the notes made it look like they were his ideas in the first place. He made her do all the work planning it. Then when the project actually got started, it was that Cars one. Suzanne was moved to something else.
Okay, Will explains a story told by Suzanne. According to her, she created an idea for a project and shared it during a workshop. John liked the idea, but later the meeting notes didn't mention Suzanne's name. Instead, it looked like the idea belonged to John. Suzanne did most of the planning work, but did not receive credit when the project became successful. And this kind of situation can happen in workplace when a manager takes credit for an employee's idea instead of recognizing their contribution. Okay, next.
It won an award, didn't it?
Yeah, but Suzanne didn't get to share it. There was zero recognition of her contribution. She was furious, but she couldn't do anything about it. Not if she wanted to keep her job.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to report people who are as high up as John is, or was.
How did you find working with him then?
Well, you know what you said about him shouting at people? I've been in meetings with him and we all learned to keep our mouths shut. It was horrible. People were genuinely afraid of him.
Okay. Kiara tells about her own experience working with John. She says that during meetings, everyone stayed quiet because John often shouted at people. Employees were genuinely afraid of him. This shows that John created a negative and intimidating work environment. Okay, next.
Did you ever see him stealing people's ideas?
It was never that obvious. He was a genius. He had incredible vision, but, there was a whole team of people working with him. Not every single idea came from him, and after a while, it's not easy to say, oh, this idea was mine and this idea was yours. For me, the bigger problem was that you could be in his good books, and then suddenly, with no explanation, you were out. And if you were out, life got very difficult.
Kiara says that it was difficult to know exactly whose ideas belong to whom, because many people work together. However, she explains that John's behavior created uncertainty and unfairness. Employees never knew whether that would stay in his favor or suddenly be treated badly. Okay, next.
I heard women in particular had a hard time working with him.
Yeah, well, like I said, you had to stay in his good books. So if there was a comment that made you feel uncomfortable, you didn't say anything.
Did that happen to you?
Not to me, no, but we all knew, and no one said anything. And I was lucky I didn't have that much contact with him myself.
We mentioned that women especially had difficulty working with John. Kiara agrees and explains that some comments made women feel uncomfortable. However, many employees remained silent because they were afraid of losing their job or damaging their careers. In some companies, employees may stay silent about inappropriate behavior because they worry about their job security. And next.
They're doing a full investigation, so I suppose a lot of these stories are going to come to light.
I hope so. I really hope he's not coming back.
At the end of the conversation, we'll say that a full investigation is being conducted. Kiara hopes the truth will come through and that John will not return. This shows that the company is trying to investigate the allegations and determine what really happened. In conclusion, this listening audio discusses rumors about a manager named John and the experience of employees who work with him. The conversation highlights issues such as abuse of power, taking credit for others' work, creating a toxic work environment, and the importance of workplace investigations. The audio also reminds us that employees should work in a respectful and environment. I chose this audio because the topic is very interesting and relevant to real life. The conversation talked about rumors in the workplace, abuse of power, and how employees are affected by a toxic work environment. I also chose this audio because it helps me learn new vocabulary and improve my listening skills while understanding an important social issue. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I apologize. Okay, thank you for listening to my presentation. I apologize if there were any mistake, and thank you so much for your time. Bye bye.